Hello and welcome to Off the Cuff with my Day Ones, the official podcast presented to you by Day Ones Production Group. And this is our first of many podcasts that Day One Productions will be presenting. And we are super excited that we can be able to share this platform with all of our educators who are our Day Ones. So we're super excited to talk to you guys and welcome you to this global movement. First and foremost, my name is Antonia Lynch, also known as Teacher Tony. And I mean, it is more than a privilege to be able to host this podcast and talk to you guys about education, teachers' feelings, and being candid and open about what we're going through. This is the voice of educators, and we are going to share it with you all. So, we wanted to start off by thinking about that, not only just sharing this platform, but reminding you that we also want to talk about and hopefully bring you guys back to education. Right now, we see the numbers of educators declining daily. We're seeing the lack of teachers across states, in districts, there's true shortages where so many other people are being called in to do the job of an educator because there aren't any. And so it's important that we come back to that passion, to that feeling. So today's episode, this is our first episode. We're talking about just that. Why did you become an educator? What gave you the passion? What was your passion? What led you here to this career choice? How did you get here? We're also going to be looking at not only why did you become an educator, but maybe the route you took, and its importance. And after becoming an educator, if it actually met your expectations, did it stand up to the ideas, to the dreams that you had that led you here? So we're going to be looking at that. And I'm going to start it off because, of course, I'm a teacher, educator extraordinaire. And I would love to share with you about why I didn't want to become a teacher. Actually, I didn't. I would have never thought I would have been a teacher. Anybody who knew me would have said, "Nope, you a teacher, girl, bye." Because I did not like school. I didn't like the teachers that I had because they didn't look like me, they didn't sound like me. There was an entire cultural disconnect. We were not on the same page. They didn't believe in me or my skills or what I could be. They told me on a regular basis that I would probably amount to nothing. And to hear that as a child, and that's your environment, you learn to have a disdain, this disgust with education, with teachers, with people in that authoritative role. You just hate it. And so I grew up not wanting to be a teacher, but if anything, wanting to be Indiana Jones and wanted to be this adventurer, this person who's out there with knowledge of language and culture and people and can mix and mingle in crowds and find these rarities, right? I love that. And my mother fed that urge by providing me with different magazines and just excitement and just the support to say, be whatever you want to be, Tony. Just be whatever you want to be. And my mother left it like that. And that's how it really started for me because I was able to start traveling. And it was through my travels that I actually wanted to become a teacher, that I learned to love teaching because many of the men and women that I would meet out and abroad, they were all educators. They all came to travel and still have this adventure, but be able to teach. And in teaching in other countries outside the United States, it was so you were held at such a high level. You were highly respected and regarded amongst the community members, amongst the families. Just as an educator, you were someone. And that was weird. But then they loved the job. They loved teaching. They loved what it entailed and how they were able to provide these different outlets for children and just watching them. And in this environment where I actually had an opportunity to see them go and explore it and on my own, I was blown away. The only difference is when the thought came to my mind, you could do this, you could be a teacher, the thought also came to my mind that I would probably only be a teacher in an urban area, which was then where the dream was really born because I said, well, if children like me had a teacher like that, or even a teacher like me, because I can do this, they'd probably be better. They probably feel better about school. They probably want to come to school more. They probably would want to be more engaged and want to become something, want to do more. And that was my dream. And that's where it really started. It took me to leave the United States and travel abroad and be out in the world to realize that I wanted to become an educator, but I knew who I wanted to teach. I knew how I wanted to teach them. And I understood that it was important for me to share with these children, the world with them, my experiences, my exploration, and hopefully open their minds up to seeing more than what was right there on the corner or within the blocks that they call homes. So from there, my route to education was quite different. It wasn't like the traditional route. Like some of us, we might have had the passion to become a teacher early on and went through the traditional route. I started out school. As soon as I left high school, I went to college and I knew I wanted to be a teacher from my freshman year all the way up. I knew this is what I wanted. Now, that's very traditional. Everybody has not done a traditional route like that. Mine was not traditional. I actually returned back to the university system and decided I needed to become a teacher, but I needed all the skill sets. So I went and double majored, obtained a bachelor's too, master's, and so ed cert, and so on, working on my doctoral degree as we speak. And in this move to become an educator and really have the skill set, not just the want to be an educator or the need to be an educator, but to actually have the skill set to be a quality, qualified educator and actually make a difference in the communities of the children that I would work in, meant a lot. So I went through the entire process. And although it took me longer, well, in a sense, well, not really, but it took me longer in a sense to get to where I wanted. There are some people who have been in teaching. By the time they're 40, they're hitting their almost 30th year in education. Whereas me, no, at 30 years, I'm going to retire. But at the same time, everybody's route is different. Everybody's passion started at a different time during a different phase. And so, because there's so many differences, we have to realize no matter what, we all came to education though. And now that we're here, are we happy? Did it meet our expectations? Was it worth it? The money, the debt, the stress, was it worth it? I mean, for me, I like to answer for myself first. For me, it's almost, I'm almost split in half. Being a teacher, and what I sought after was to become a teacher who could change this dynamic for these type of students. That I was able to obtain. I was able to actually do that. That met my expectations because in my classrooms, I work in urban environments where my children are very diverse from diverse cultures and languages. And I just love it. I love that. I also love that I'm in my class. There's autonomy. I can work through these kids. I can get them what they need where they are. And I can do my absolute best to bring the best to them, best experiences to them. But at the same time, education is layered in politics and policies that negate everything you want to do. And so that did not meet my expectation. The lack of professionalism also did not meet my expectation because there's this hierarchy mentality where these people get to this level and they forgot what it was like to be an educator and in the classroom. And they forget that. And when it's time to make policies and it's time to create standards, and they forget all the things that made them get into education. And now that they're chasing a check, a bigger check, more fame, more opportunities for advancements, they're forgetting the basics. They're forgetting what it was to be in a classroom. They're forgetting their original passion, which makes it very difficult for other educators to want to stay involved because it starts getting mucky. Like, you're like, come on, like, you're kicking up a lot of dust over here. Like, I don't need this. This is not what I signed up for. I didn't sign up for all this other jargon, all this other junk, all this other stuff. You can have it. I don't need it, don't want it, because that's not what I signed up for. Now, if I could take all of that, ball it up, and throw it away, I would. because that part of education I don't need. The part of education I enjoy is really seeing the growth and changes in students. I absolutely enjoy that. Seeing a student who struggled with reading, or a student who struggled with math, or writing. Just self-confidence. You see so many kids who come from just broken homes, and they come out of their shell. Their willingness grows, and that truly met my expectation, because that's all I wanted. But that's the thing, educators. What we want and why we signed up isn't what's keeping us. It's not anymore. It's not holding us anymore. So, with that being said, of course, because I'm an educator, I'm going to give you an exit ticket because I don't want to hold you up long. But I do want to start the conversation and get us rolling. I want to hear from you guys. Why are you a teacher? What brought you to this field? But then, not only why did you become an educator, but also, what was your route? Was it an easy route, straightforward route, or did you run around a few times before you figured it out? Or did you jump from here to there to everywhere and then you came back and figured this is where you needed to be? What was your route? And now that you're here, are you enjoying it? Are you happy? Did it meet your expectations? Is it worth it? And if it's not, I think that's where a lot of us where we are. It's not meeting our expectations. It's leaving a lot of educators to walk away, and I don't think that's the answer. But there has to be an answer. There has to be a way to bring us back to education, because if this was something you were passionate about, why give up your passion? Why allow the flame to be burnt out? We have to be able to rekindle it somehow. So I'm very optimistic in that. But we have to be able to talk about it freely, candidly. So please join us in the way you can do that by, first and foremost, liking, following, subscribing to all of our social media platforms. Day One's production group, of course. Please follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, uh, Facebook. We have you covered. Come and join our movement. We are here, and we are definitely opening up the lines of communication for teachers. So, first things first, you have to follow us to be a part of the movement. That's number one. And number two, of course, your exit ticket is, once you follow us and you like us and you subscribe to what we're doing, please make sure you go and let us know. Comment. Let us know why you became an educator. Let us know the route you took, and let us know if it's meeting your expectations, because our next podcast, our next episode, we're actually going to talk about that. If it didn't meet your expectations, do I leave? Do I stay? What do I do? To stay or not to stay in education? That is the question. And that's the question we'll be answering at our next podcast. So please join us. Make sure you stay tuned for Day One's production group and all the activities underneath our 4 pillars that we will be putting out for teachers. Please make sure you're following us, you're liking our pages, and you're commenting, adding your input. We need your input. We need your stories, teachers, because we hear teachers. So we speak to teachers and for teachers. So make sure you add it. Again, this is Antonia Lynch. I'm signing off from Off the Cuff with my Day Ones, brought to you by Day One's production group. And guess what? We are official from the start. Good evening.